Our crime and justice correspondent is Mr. Shimon Prokupecz, and he is here with more on our breaking news tonight. The officers who were under siege from the mob speaking out tonight for the first time, Shimon. It is unbelievable to watch and hear what they went through. Those officers were incredibly outnumbered. What did Officer Fanone say about that?
Yeah, and Don, how brave, right? How brave of these officers to go in there the way that they did, knowing that they were going to be outnumbered. And when you listen to these stories, it is such bravery, and it is so good that they're finally speaking out. You know, the one officer who you spent some time with talking to, describing how they were outnumbered, how he was laying around and they were ripping things off him, stealing his equipment, and just basically hoping he could survive, describing all of that. Here is more.
Shimon, he said, before you go to that, he said, and maybe, I don't know if this is where you're going, but he said at some point he realized that he had his gun on him and that would be the worst thing to lose his gun, and he put both hands over it. But go on, sorry, which I thought, he's exactly right.
And the fear of shooting people, because as you said, it could wreak more havoc. And there's also the concern that they needed justification to shoot these people. Just the entire story is just incredible. And just take a listen some about more of what he said.
We encountered some pretty significant resistance. I mean, we were getting, chemical irritants sprayed. They had pipes and, different metal objects, batons, some of which I think they had taken from law enforcement personnel. They were striking us with those, and then it was just like the sheer number of rioters. I mean, the force that was coming from that side. It was difficult to offer any resistance when you're only about 30 guys going up against 15,000.
And Shimon, we're also hearing from another MPD officer, Daniel Hodges. We saw the terrible video of him being crushed by rioters in a door. What else did he say?
Yeah, that video, everyone has seen that video, and he was crushed. You can see all the rioters around him. In one case, trying to pull his gas mask off his face. He also describes just being surrounded and outnumbered there.
The guy ripping my mask off, and he was able to rip away my baton and beat me with it, and he was practically foaming at the mouth. So just these people were true believers in the worst way. Just the absolute zealotry of these people, how they 100% believed that what they were doing was right, and that they were the patriots, and that no one would get in their way.
And it's just the sound of these officers talking about how determined so many of the attackers, this mob, was to get inside Capitol Hill and ultimately probably to get to some of the lawmakers, Don.
Shimon, I just want to play some more from Officer Hodges and we'll discuss. Here it is.
They were waving the thin blue line flag and telling us, we're not your enemies, while they were attacking us and, kill one of us. So it was, it's hard to say exactly what's going through their minds because it doesn't make sense to me. Some of them felt like we would be fast friends because so many of them have been vocal, or at least virtue signaling their support for the police over the past year. They say things like, we've been supporting you through all this Black Lives Matter stuff, you should have our back. And they felt like entitled. They felt like they would just walk up there and tell us that they're here to take back Congress, and we would agree with them, and we'd walk in hand and just take over the nation. But obviously that was not the case, and it will never be the case.
And Shimon, we thank these officers for their bravery and what they were up against. They were outnumbered, and yet they fought, and it could have been, a real massacre. Shimon.
It could have, and I think it's important, and I'm happy to see that the DC police, the Metropolitan, the District of Columbia police speaking out, because so many people who were inside that building are crediting them with saving lives. So many of the law enforcement officials that we've talked to, remember, Don, they came in as the reinforcement. The Capitol Police were outnumbered, and the first people they called was the MPD, and they came in. And what they did was they gave time for the Capitol Police, for the FBI, for the ATF to get inside that building and to perhaps save lives of lawmakers, right? Remember, they needed time to get the leaders of this country out of harm's way. And it is the MPD that allowed that. And one other point I want to tell you is that the prosecutor, the man, Michael Sherwin, who's leading this investigation, he said that we will be shocked by some of the video that we will eventually see. Hopefully that will come out. The hand-to-hand combat that these MPD officers were facing with these attackers, these vile, vicious attackers who were trying to get around every officer. They wanted nothing stopping them, and it was the MPD that ultimately came in there, were allowed them to slow down and get a lot of the lawmakers out of harm's way, Don.